Hello everyone, my name is Pier Giorgio and I'm very happy to be here today with you talking about technology. We will talk about why and how we ended up with this Web3 concept and what is this Web3 and this technology beyond all this hype around these technologies. So let's analyze what's the hype around Web3. For example, the ICO summer of 2017, when basically every project related to blockchain and crypto and token started to sell their tokens for a discounted price, promising like amazing projects and delivering protocols and new blockchain and stuff, but then run away with money and many people lose their money. For example, DeFi, the DeFi summer of 2020, when everyone started farming, talking about tokens, blockchains, and blah, 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 but then ended up like in something like a bubble, and it is not decentralized at all. So there is like no reasoning for defining this thing, decentralized finance. Then we have, of course, NFTs in 2021. And then Marco, you probably know Marco, who decided to rebrand Facebook in Meta, which generated something like a buzzword, right? Like the metaverse became something on the mouth of everyone. And here you can see Marco rebranded Facebook in Meta, and the metaverse search on Google just skyrocketed. So everyone talking about the metaverse, new investments, buy your land, blah, blah, blah. But then, after selling these lands, talking about metaverse, new augmented realities, and blah, 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 avatars, and with huge brands buying a space in this metaverse to sell their stuff, and blah, blah, blah. Basically, they raised expectations of investors, of users, creating new storytelling, but then we realized that we need like 5 to 8 years to really develop this kind of new reality. So then, how can we exchange value into the metaverse, right? Through NFTs. And again, here Marco made his announcement, rebranding Facebook, and then NFTs started becoming more, attracting more attention. And for example, like celebrities started buying NFTs, and also people started following these trends, even influencers and celebrities started their collections, launching their projects, NFTs and blah, 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 making a lot of money, right? Like, for example, Steve Aoki said he made more money out of NFTs than all his music career. And that's how a technology with which we can develop applications and storytelling and trends became culture, right? And so I wanna show to people that I own a 300K monkey on my Apple Watch driving a Tesla. This is, for example, the number of sales of NFTs in red. I don't know if you can see correctly how it declined. Or, for example, the hype compared to the Bitcoin adoption. And when many people search for Bitcoin, when so few people are looking for Bitcoin and you buy Bitcoin, you can make a good deal. But otherwise, when Bitcoin became something that it's on the mouth of everyone, probably it's the wrong time to do it. So many bubbles in the last few years we happened actually, and this is the hype, right? So a great attention around a technology like new storytellings, that became trend, mass trend and culture. But if we go beyond these buzzwords, right, we can see that there are many technologies behind them. And this technology basically are the funding technology and the enabling technologies for forming these trends, these storytellings, as these new kind of applications. And today I want to see with you why they have been discovered and developed in first place, and why are they meaningful, and what is the real stage of development. And also why these technologies are responsible for this new stage of the web that we all name Web3, and what was the need for it, actually. So let's see briefly oh my God, what Web 2 was like, okay? Web 2 basically, we can define it as centralized platform collecting our data, right? So they gave us the chance to use incredibly powerful services and applications in exchange of our data, basically, that they resell as they want. This caused the fact that we don't have property or control of our data, and we are the product, as we all know. We don't have privacy most of the times. And in many cases, we don't have free speech. Okay, we are censored, we are banned, our profiles are closed, and blah, blah, blah. And this Web 2 triggered many dangerous consequences. For example, persuasion and social control. This is Shoshana Zuboff, which is a Harvard teacher, who wrote this really interesting book about how capitalism and the internet are able, through algorithms, to transform human experience into economic raw material and to resell this economic raw material, even allowing to control, to give the power to who control this data, to anticipate and plasm our choices. And we saw that with Cambridge Analytica. How many of you have ever heard about Cambridge Analytica? Just to give an idea, okay. So basically, Cambridge Analytica was a consultancy company that harvested more than 50 million Facebook profiles, and collecting and analyzing this data, they profiled individuals and resell this data to politicians, to companies, and third parties. This ended up with some revelations about, for example, the Brexit phenomena, the election of Kenyatta, which was the president of Kenya, and as well as the election of President Trump. And all these events have in common that basically through this data, politicians or companies manage to change people's minds about something, about giving their vote, about buying a product, and so forth. And this had just the consequence that, for example, Facebook paid 500K of fine, but I would like to ask you, what is 500K compared to the result, the change result of the election of a president, right? And like playing with our democracy or our ability to choose what we want to buy or use as a service. This, as well like other phenomena, raised this figure of the whistleblower, like Christopher Wiley, who was working for Cambridge Analytica and Facebook and revealed all this information, or Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden, blah, blah, who are people who basically said the truth about some projects they were working on and they were not supporting at all or anymore. This is a documentary I really recommend you to see if you haven't yet, which talks about Cambridge Analytica and all these phenomena, and it's very, very, very well done. So Web3 stack, so all these technologies came in to change this. Came in to transform centralized platforms, so single point of failure and control, into decentralized protocol. Protocols where all the stakeholders are the owners and are in control of their data. What is the difference between protocol and platform? Do you know more or less what can it be? Basically, it's a structure which is more horizontal and transparent than a centralized, than a platform. And the code is open source, so everyone can take that code, fork that code, further develop it and make it better. And sometimes where collaboration is more important than competition. So we build something together and we take it to the next level together. Then, here I want to say, everyone who tells you, let's decentralize everything because decentralization is the solution to all our problems, is bullshit. I think that we just have to, I mean, if humanity and our systems are centralized, almost everything, there is a reason, but for sure we have to decentralize more. We have to decentralize that systems that proved to be harmful for us, for our systems, for our ecosystems, and for society. Web3 came also to to tell us, hey, there is no need for all these intermediaries and gatekeepers who decide if you can use a service or take huge commissions for providing that service for you, and that many times prove to be opaque in the management of these resources and data and acted in illegitimate way, harmful way for us. Let's think, for example, to the 2008 global financial crisis. And so to transform these systems into peer-to-peer networks where there is no gated access, there is open source code, then Web3 technologies came in to transform this situation where we have data extraction and manipulation that causes also so many negative externalities to individual sovereignty and digital ownership. So all these problems, all these issues that Web2 bring us, basically were understood long time ago, long time before platforms were started to be developed. In the 80s, internet was a desolate domain, mainly populated by nerds and hackers. And a group of intellectuals, mathematicians, and activists understood how once the internet would have become of mainstream adoption, once inhabited, profound changes in our economic and social structures and systems would have been occur, with a harmful concentration of power by a few. These individuals are known as cypherpunks, and they understood the danger and started developing technologies to avoid this situation. Cypherpunk came from cipher, which stands for encryption, basically, cryptography, and punks, which came from the dystopian sci-fi genre cyberpunk, the American dystopian cyberpunk sci-fi genre, and indicates who first developed this cypherpunk, who first researched and developed anonymous transacting systems to protect individual rights against the threat of state and corporate surveillance. Thereby, they basically research and develop the roots of cryptocurrency, of Bitcoin, and of Web3. And the reason for doing so was for ensuring privacy in the digital space. Their main focus was, in fact, the main focus of their research and development was on ensuring civil rights in an electronic age for a free civil society. They basically started a mailing list to discuss about these topics and develop together these systems, and wrote a manifesto as well to say what basically they were doing. So cypherpunks write code. We know that someone has to write software to defend privacy, because we cannot expect governments or corporations to grant us privacy out of their benevolence. It is to their advantage to speak of us, and we should expect that they will speak. And then privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age, as I was saying before, and we must defend this privacy if we expect to have any. So we must come together and create systems which allow anonymous transactions to take place. How do we do that? We publish our code. The code is open source, it's free for everyone to look at it, modify it, fork it, implement it. And here I want to underline this collaboration thing. I mean, today the model is that if you do a startup, you then sell the code to Google, you take 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, depending on how good is your code, and then it's done. And so we have these trans-jurisdictional huge monopolies who buy all the innovation and top-down decide what the future will be like. So this manifesto was written in 1992 by Eric Hughes, that is one of the three, founders of cypherpunk movement. And as I was saying before, they formed a mailing list where they discussed about these topics. Satoshi Nakamoto was on that list. We have, I think you may know, white on white, you cannot see, okay. We have the first, Jacob Appelbaum is the Tor developer, Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, Adam Beck, the inventor of Hashcash, Bram Cohen, creator of BitTorrent, Nick Szabo, designer of BitGold and many other things, Wei Dai, designer of Bimani, Hal Finney, which was the first receiver of Bitcoin currency on the blockchain Bitcoin, and he was the creator of reusable proof of work, the founder of DigiCash, blah, blah, blah. So basically they researched and developed and built the foundation for Bitcoin to came up. In fact, Bitcoin wasn't popping out of nowhere thanks to Satoshi Nakamoto, but Satoshi Nakamoto collected all these protocols and researches and basically assembled this pre-existing software into the first working digital currency and anonymous transacting peer-to-peer network. And if we see the roots for Bitcoin, maybe here is better, you can see that all the names of that mailing list are here. They are the roots for Bitcoin, right? So the cypherpunk developed all these technologies that allow us today to talk about cryptocurrency, blah, 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 and many other things. Bitcoin also has an intrinsic political meaning and value. In fact, this is the first block of Bitcoin, and there is this hidden, non-hidden message which said, "Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." What was that? It was the first page of the Financial Times that day, which was saying that the UK Chancellor was saving banks during the financial crisis of 2008 for the second time. And this is the meaning of Bitcoin and the value of this protocol. A lot of trust is needed in order to keep our system running and going, right? And we trust the intermediaries like financial system, institutions, central banks, and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes, as I said before, they reveal to be bad actors, right? And they manage these resources in a harmful way. So Bitcoin came up as an alternative to this opaque financial system that proved to be bad sometimes. And this is the reason why cryptography, blockchain, and peer-to-peer networks have been developed through the years to ensure personal sovereignty and civil rights over the digital realm. So basically to empower individuals in the electronic age, because we lost our power to be owner of our data, of the value that we produce, that we create, right? So this is how these technologies were born and developed in the first place. But then a new breed took the helm, which means una nuova categoria ha preso il timone. With mass attentions and money come from VCs and institutions, bad actors came in and profited out of this new market and investors and enthusiasm that was birthed for these new technologies and markets, and built on top of these technologies opaque systems that we already see in Web2 and in the old financial systems. And in order to grant us privacy and decentralization, we have, I don't want to say adversaries, it's not like a battle, it's not us versus them, just we have some players which are still doing the same things but on blockchain or with tokens, okay? But it's the same, like central bank digital currencies will be a real pain in the ass, sorry for the French, if it will be managed in a way that we already saw many times in Web2, and not Web2, but in the current financial systems. So in this, let's say, battle for privacy and decentralization, great challenges are going to be faced. And some people and institutions want to increase their power and money perpetrating this centralized model and extractive models. But fortunately, we have meaningful use cases that have been developed after Bitcoin. And today, the part of crypto that are honourable are those that actually stay true to its core principles, right? So privacy, openness, censorship resistance. I want to make you some examples of how crypto can be used for doing something meaningful and good. Do you know WikiLeaks? Okay, I don't have to explain what is WikiLeaks. Since its creation in 2006, WikiLeaks revealed a lot of videos and documents, protected documents about the Bush administrations, the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq. making a bad image of the USA, right? So that government started pushing Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, American Express, and all the financial circuits to stopping, to allow donations to WikiLeaks, so that they were forced to develop a payment channel in Bitcoin on June 2011. And this brought more than 3 million in contribution in present Bitcoin value. Then in 2020, they formed, some people created this DAO, Assange DAO, in order to foster WikiLeaks activities and donations, as well as forming a legal defense fund for Julian Assange that was imprisoned. And this resulted, again, in 38 million of donations in just a week. Another relevant example to me is the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. The central bank has introduced limits on foreign currency transfers in and out of Ukraine in order to avoid run of the counters, quindi corsa agli sportelli, an excessive devaluation of the national currency. And so many people weren't having more access to their banks, basically to their money. And thanks to cryptocurrencies, Ukraine was able to cover also some of the most immediate needs they had to defend themselves. And there was no other way at the time. So they raised more than $7 million in just a week through Ether and Bitcoin, 60 of which just in a week, and which is crucial during a war, having money as soon as possible in order to defend your country. And in fact, it accelerated the country's abilities to respond to Russia's offense. At the other hand, banks closed operations in Russia, right? Because they delivered sanctions against Russia, and they excluded Russia from the SWIFT circuit and suspended also every other circuit like PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard. And again, many people so they didn't have access to their money, and maybe we're talking about people who were against the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, but they didn't have access to it. So basically the point here is that in countries where you don't have this well-going democracy like here or in America, crypto is a meaningful way, and sometimes a meaningful way to have access to your resources, to your money, and to confront corruption or dictatorship, right? For example, Argentina, where people live in a condition of hyperinflation. There is an inflation like 200% in Argentina. Here is like 2, 3%, 4%, 5%. And access to financial system is more difficult in Argentina than here. You cannot buy foreign currencies. You can just have the pesos. And cryptocurrency here as well stepped in as a lifeline for some people who, because of this inflation, saw their richness like ruined in few days. Even in countries like Nigeria or Iran, where, as I was saying before, we don't have this working well democracy, crypto represents a means for survival and for dissent amid corruption and censorship. So the point here is crypto might be a fun way to speculate on memecoins and NFTs, but if you are instead of countries where economy is less developed and access to financial system is more difficult, and you have maybe a dictatorship situation, crypto can be a means for survival and dissent. I want to leave you with some key messages here. The first one, I think, is the most important thing, at least to me, in this new market and ecosystem, community. I think that we should gather around values and, with that trans-jurisdictional monopolies that are growing faster and faster, as I was saying before, and that carry on interests of the few, And with politics and laws that strive for to carry on and to govern such monopolies, digital monopolies, the interest of the individual has no power to succeed against these huge corporations and governments. And I think that just through the proliferation, the formation of local communities where we have same needs and alignment of values, we can do the difference and develop alternatives, or even having a voice compared to these huge institutions. There is that said, which say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far away, go together. The second one is layer zero will always be the people, because technology is just a tool. It's just a way that we have to, we have to decide how to use technology, right? And to decide what products and services to develop, to buy, to invest in. And the success of crypto, but technology in a broader meaning, and for success I don't mean making money, I mean further developing these technologies and adopting this technology with wisdom in a way that can help real well-being of people and of the ecosystem to bloom, basically. This kind of success, this kind of well-being is possible just if we continue to promote civil rights and personal sovereignty, and this will depend on the number of thinkers and revolutionaries, not followers. Because if tomorrow a central bank or a new centralized exchange give you a service that seems to be easier and ready to use, and you can make something out of it, maybe you can choose and say, okay, but if I do this or build with this protocol, what is the real consequence of that, right? So I think it's very important to think why we do things and how are we doing things and what will be the result of that. And this is the last payoff. I mean, build with purpose. The main goal should be to make something which is useful and meaningful and relevant for yourself, for your values, and good for the people around you. Yeah, I think that's all. If you want to further discuss about these topics, or you have questions, you can make it now, or if they come up later, you can find my contacts here. And I want to leave you as well a resource where you can find all the GitHub resources and protocols which are developing privacy in Web3, trying to foster that values and ideals that cypherpunks had when first researched and developed these technologies. And here you can find lots of protocols who are looking for builders. So basically you can find your first job, your second, third job, I don't know, and have a look at this project. I mean, they're good, they're doing good, and yeah, thank you very much.